So, right when it was looking like Alabama's coaching searches had come to an end, news breaks last night that the Florida Gators are targeting none other than Alabama inside linebacker coach Austin Armstrong for their now open defensive coordinator position. And this is something we need to talk about because even though Austin Armstrong may not be a household name in college football yet, if you talk to those around the game, they'll tell you he is a bright mind on the defensive side of the football and a name to keep your eye on. And because of that, many in the Crimson Tide fan base were excited to see what the future would hold with him coaching for the Crimson Tide. Today, we have got to break this down. But before we can, as always, y'all know the drill, I have got to hear from you. Hop down to the comments, give me a Y for yes or an N for no. Do you believe the Florida Gators end up with Austin Armstrong as their defensive coordinator? And let me know what you're thinking. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. Hit that bell notification. I do constant college football content. You don't want to miss any of it. And if you enjoyed the content, be sure to like and comment down below. Those interactions seem small. They are massive to content creators such as myself, and we're on a push to 20,000 subscribers. I'd love to have you a part of this unbelievable community. But having said all that, let's jump right into this. And as I stated in the intro, Austin Armstrong may not be a household name yet, but when you really start diving into what it is he's done in his young career, it's impressive. And we need to start with him being the defensive coordinator at Southern Miss, where that defense was nicknamed the Nasty Bunch. And whenever you dive into it, not only were they making statistical improvements in several categories, he had that defense land in the top 10 in several categories over the course of that 2 years. Categories including number 6 in red zone defense, a top 10 defense in the country in stuffing teams on first down, a top 10 team in the country in stuffing teams on fourth down, top 10 in sacks per game, top 10 in tackles per game, and top 10 in interceptions. So this was a defense that was getting after the quarterback. They were disruptive. They were getting turnovers, and he wasn't there for very long, but it was already very clear there was something to be excited about here. And that was why so many in the Alabama fan base were excited whenever Nick Saban was able to make this hire, a young up-and-comer in college football, and place him at inside linebacker coach, a position where we talked about just yesterday. Alabama fans have got to be very excited for the battle they're about to see for that inside linebacker room. Deontay Lawson looks to be one position, but who's going to start next to him? There's so much talent there, but there's just not a lot of experience. And Austin Armstrong was going to be a major part of that battle, and that's why it was going to be so exciting to see. You had a young, bright mind on the defensive side of the football, an up-and-comer who'd done great things, not only architecting linebacker schemes, but architecting a defense for Southern Miss, and then coming to the Alabama Crimson Tide at inside linebacker coach. This was something I was very excited to see. But as I stated, news broke last night that the Florida Gators are targeting Austin Armstrong for their now open defensive coordinator position as Patrick Toney is leaving for the NFL. And if you're Billy Napier, this makes a lot of sense. Because if we actually go back in Austin Armstrong's career, he has a familiarity with Billy Napier. He's coached with Coach Napier twice, in 2018 at Louisiana, and then he moved from Louisiana to coach with Georgia as a quality control assistant for the Georgia Bulldogs, but inevitably found his way back to the Cajuns in 2020, where he coached inside linebackers. So Billy Napier already has a familiarity with Austin Armstrong. They've worked together when Billy Napier was the head coach of Louisiana. So from that perspective, this makes a lot of sense. To Napier, this isn't as much as a young up-and-comer as much as it is as a young guy that you have complete faith in because you've already hired him to your staff before. You kept him in 2018, and then you hired him back in 2020, and there's a reason for that. So I think the familiarity between these two absolutely helps. And I know many in the Alabama fan base are going to be hoping Austin Armstrong stays with the Crimson Tide, and look, deservedly so. He is a bright mind, but one thing we have to acknowledge, Power 5 offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator jobs, they don't come calling every single day, especially when just this past season, you were calling plays for Southern Miss. You weren't on the Power 5 level. And then you go from defensive coordinator at Southern Miss to inside linebackers coach at the Alabama Crimson Tide, and then prospective defensive coordinator for the Florida Gators. If you are Austin Armstrong, it's tough to turn that down. And I understand. Working with Nick Saban can do big things for your career. We've seen it time and time again. And you have to know that was an enticing offer for Austin Armstrong to come in and learn more from Nick Saban. But just as it's an enticing offer to learn from Nick Saban, so too is it an enticing offer to get a promotion going from a position coach to a coordinator and the pay raise that comes with it. These opportunities don't come every day. And if they come, you probably should take them. And so I wouldn't be surprised at all if I see Austin Armstrong make the move to the Florida Gators defensive coordinator position for all the reasons I just listed. He has a familiarity with Billy Napier. Those two have worked together. Obviously, the relationship is positive because he came back to Louisiana in 2020, and now Billy Napier is targeting him for the defensive coordinator position at Florida, and he's never called a play at the Power 5 level. So it shows you how much faith Napier has in this individual, because Billy Napier realizes this is a big year for the Florida Gators. The Florida fan base is not going to tolerate a year like they just had. Now, in fairness to Billy Napier, it's not my contention that he inherited a Ferrari. He didn't inherit something that was ready to go right then and there. There's work to be done with the Florida Gators. There's a lot of work to be done, and I think he needs the patience to be able to do that work. But this is something we have got to watch, because Austin Armstrong is an individual that I think Alabama fans and the Alabama coaching staff would have loved to have kept. But in the same time, if you have the opportunity within one full season to go from a defensive coordinator at Southern Miss to a defensive coordinator at Florida, it's hard to say no to that, even if the stop in between was a position coach for the Alabama Crimson Tide. Look, working for the likes of Alabama, Ohio State, Clemson, and Georgia, that's tough to say no to. Coordinator positions don't come calling every single day, so I wouldn't be shocked at all to see Austin Armstrong take this. And then it begs the question, what is Nick Saban going to do next? Something I can't wait to see, but I can't wait to hear from all of you. Hop down to the comments, let me know what you're thinking. That's it. See ya.